In this video, we're going to take a detailed look at the impact of remote working, which is sometimes known as working from home. We can already see around us that remote working is going to have a significant impact on the future of business operations. It's really just a question now of how significant that impact will be. Many businesses were forced to respond dynamically and find ways for staff to work at home due to the national lockdown during the COVID-19 pandemic. Following this, many businesses were left to decide if employees would be coming back to workplaces across the country. This decision was heavily influenced by the particular industry that business operated in. For example, fast food employees, nurses, teachers, and many more professionals are public-facing and therefore needed to return to business as usual. But many others, such as journalists, games designers, artists, web developers, have found ways to work collaboratively from the comfort of their own homes. We will examine the key differences between allowing employees to work remotely and the more traditional working from an office or a fixed location. We will analyse the advantages and the disadvantages of shifting to remote working and how these may impact the business. You probably know someone who works from home, or who worked from home temporarily during the COVID crisis. In fact, millions of people who had never previously worked from home suddenly found themselves doing just that in March 2020. Working remotely has been made possible by the use of technology, fast broadband, smartphones, and ways of collaborating such as Zoom, Microsoft Teams, or the Google Suite. These mean it is much easier for people to contact their colleagues, suppliers, and customers without being in the exact same place as them. To all the teachers out there, show all of these videos without any ads and gain access to our growing library of over 500 teaching worksheets. Why not visit BizzWizard.co.uk to find out more? So, this is Grace Greenman, and she is the operations manager for Xpien, a large software development company designing core systems for individual clients. She manages the team of programmers that design these systems. She is a fantastic coder herself, but now spends much of her time ensuring her team are getting their projects completed on time and to a satisfactory quality. Things became pretty stressful for Grace when the pandemic hit, and staff no longer headed into the offices. She had to lead the way in ensuring that the projects remained on track, even with all of the team working from home. After a rocky start, things settled down, and even improved in some ways. Certain tasks were completed more efficiently, and she actually found virtual meetings easier to organise than when she managed the team in the office. As the pandemic settled down and businesses across the UK were told staff could return, Grace was asked by the HR manager to produce a report giving her recommendations on the impact of the whole team continuing to work from home permanently and actually closing the physical offices altogether. In a report like the one that Grace has been asked to create, it's really important to analyse the impact on the business, and the same is true if you get an exam question on this topic. Grace needed to think about both the benefits and the limitations of each outcome, and consider what the decision would lead to before making a recommendation based on her analysis. The first major advantage she considered of allowing staff to continue to work from home is the possibility of cost savings for Xpien. If they decided to close the offices, there would be considerable savings on rent, utilities, water, electricity. There would be savings not having to clean the offices, not offering things like tea and coffee, even not having to purchase certain equipment and furniture. Bring this video and over 100 more to life with fun, interactive games, quizzes, and case studies. Why not try the first 25 completely free by visiting BizzWizard.co.uk. The next advantage she considered is the possibility of improved motivation. Allowing staff to work from home could promote positive feelings and increase staff morale. This could lead to employees going the extra mile, if perhaps she needed them to work late or produce a stunning presentation in a quick turnaround. If Xpien only hired remote workers, they would also likely have the benefit of a wider choice of staff when selecting candidates. Hires don't have to be local, they can be anywhere in the world. This provides a greater opportunity to find staff with specialised programming skills, therefore saving on training. Another one of the benefits of hiring remote workers is that there are no relocation costs for Xpien, which can run into thousands of pounds, leading to improved profits for the business and therefore a greater chance of them growing and taking larger programming projects. Grace thinks that there's a possibility that working remotely could actually reduce absenteeism. If a member of her team feels a little under the weather, they're more likely to keep working if they work from home. They don't have to travel whilst they're feeling unwell, and they can take a rest if they need to. In the busy world that we live in, time is invaluable, and we never seem to have enough of it. So another of the benefits that Grace considers is that employees may use their time more productively if they work from home. As well as less time spent travelling, working from home might reduce office gossip time, the lateness, the time wasted making a cup of tea or coffee and talking in the kitchen. The final benefit that Grace considers is that if Xpien decided to close their office, they could choose to operate 24/7. They then had the option to hire developers and office staff in different time zones, which could lead to more clients, therefore meaning more sales revenue and the possibility of increased profits. Although Grace had identified many benefits, it was extremely important that she considered the key disadvantages of Xpien choosing to close their offices. The first disadvantage she thought of is that it could mean less collaboration, and it may actually make it harder to share ideas. There are many great pieces of software to allow the team to collaborate, but employees would likely need training in the use of this technology, and this might be expensive for the company to provide and lead to increased costs, and therefore reduced profits. There may be distractions for members of her team when working outside of the office. Some of the team may have busy home lives with young families and therefore experience many interruptions. Each of the video courses over at BizzWizard.co.uk also includes an interactive business case study that applies the knowledge learnt to a real-world scenario. There are over 1,000 multiple-choice questions, each with detailed feedback, which tests students' understanding of the content. Why not visit BizzWizard.co.uk to find out more? Remote working could be bad for team building, not just for working together, but also for the social side of work. Having the team there in person can in some cases make it easier for her team to develop stronger working relationships and learn to support each other. This leads us to the final disadvantage that she considered, which is in the worst case scenario, some of her best programmers may choose to leave the business if the office is permanently closed. There are certain members of her team she knows who really enjoy the social side of the office and actually hadn't enjoyed working from home during the pandemic. If these team members decided to leave, this could lead to skills gaps, meaning they lost programmers who knew how to write a particular type of code, and it could therefore be difficult to replace them and potentially mean significant additional training costs. So, with the benefits and limitations section of her report complete, it was time for Grace to make a decision. There were pros and cons of both options, but a choice had to be made, and she needed to give her recommendation. She thought this over for a few days, going back and forwards over everything. It was a big operational decision, potentially the biggest she had ever been asked to make a recommendation on, and the decision would have a large impact on her and her team. Finally, she decided that in her particular scenario, with the clients that Xpien had and the kind of work that her team did, that closing the offices may be the best option for ongoing success. The reason that ultimately sealed her decision is that she believes operating 24/7 with programmers across the world will be a pivotal move for the business and allow them to take clients from their competitors and therefore steal more market share within their industry. Only time will tell if Grace made the right decision, and if the move to remote working for all staff was a good idea, or if some of the disadvantages that we have discussed will actually lead to the company's failure. In order for businesses to remain dynamic in the constantly changing environment, we may start to see more and more remote workers as we head into the future. Who knows, in 10 years' time, working from home could be more common than people heading out to a workplace. This has been the BizzWizard. See you in the next video.